Hello, Gothic literature lovers and horror fans. I am J.S. Larmore, aka Jax, and today in the studio I have Rebecca Jones-Howe, the author of Ending in Ashes, a short story collection coming out in August with Quill and Crow Publishing House. So, without further ado, welcome to Ravens and Writing Desk. Hello, Rebecca Jones-Howe. Welcome to Ravens and Writing Desks. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you and talk to you about Ending in Ashes. So, can you tell me a little bit about Ending in Ashes, what it's about?
So it's a collection of 11 neo-noir short stories. So just to explain what neo-noir is, it's kind of like a
That was
take
going to
of...
be my next
Yeah,
question.
okay. So it's just a collection of 11 short stories. Neo-noir, it's kind of like a genre bend of literary fiction. So I used to write neo-noir, which kind of takes place with more horror and crime and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
the Gothic blend of it takes, all the stuff from Gothic fiction, the dark atmospheres, emotional distress, some of the paranormal elements, the devious male villains, who sometimes double as love interests. And so all of those things I blend them into my kind of minimalist literary fiction.
Okay. Very cool. So you said 11 stories, right?
Yeah.
And give us an idea about time frame and some of the themes that are included in Ending in Ashes, so people can get an idea of what they're going to find when they get the book.
Yeah, for sure. So it's very modern kind of writing. I've been really inspired by people like Chuck Palahniuk. He was a big early influence of mine.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, I love Gillian Flynn's writing style as well. So a lot of the themes kind of look at subjects like, alcoholism and trauma and like a lot of dark things. There's a few subjects on the feminist sort of subjects, gender issues and things like that, that are all in there. And it's all just kind of like really dark and gritty, but it still has those kind of more romanticized sort of Gothic elements woven in as well.
Yeah, and that gritty aspect is kind of expected in a neo-noir style genre, I think. If anybody who's watched neo-noir movies, I know a big one, if anybody's still having trouble kind of understanding, the Sin City movies were considered neo-noir, but a more modern one. So that's a crime aspect, not a horror one.
Yeah.
There's some aspects of that in there too. Okay, so what inspired you to write the book?
It's kind of well, lots of, again, the same sort of stuff that I grew up with. I loved like Beauty and the Beast growing up. I read like a lot of V.C. Andrews novels. They were like a favorite in my teens. Of course, I went through like the whole Sylvia Plath phase, my like Girl Interrupted phase. So it's a lot of like those kind of like the dark girl issues.
Right.
And then just a lot of, I'm really interested in like politics and like modern history. So anything from kind of like the late 18th, like Victorian era onward. There's a lot of that in there. Social politics and like mental health issues in general. So it's all of that kind of stuff put together with like a Gothic sort of theme to it.
That's awesome. I really want to read it. That sounds like
thank you.
I love the kind of the history surrounding like the 19th century mental health movement and all the dark history behind all of that. It's sad and it's heartbreaking, but you have this like dark fascination with it,
Yeah.
So I love that.
It's weird because like, there was like the 19th century part and then like the mid-century as well, like the 50s, 60s. And just the whole like institution era of like asylums. I mean, since my teens, that's always been something I've just been fascinated with, and just the buildings themselves. I love watching a lot of like urban exploration videos, various channels on YouTube, and it's just like, it's really cool to just see inside a building and just like, there's still lots of history in there. And even just by watching a lot of those videos inspired a lot of the short stories that are in the collection.
Do you also like to watch like the paranormal investigation series that go into those buildings, or Just
Not
the urban explorers.
mostly the urban explorers. I find like a lot of the paranormal stuff is just a little bit like hokey.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, like horrible things happen in these buildings, but I
Yeah.
feel that even in my city in Kamloops, BC, we have an old tuberculosis sanatorium. And
Ooh.
in the 80s, it was a place for kids with like autism and developmental issues in
Yeah.
the 80s. So it was a school there after that. And even now, it's just people go there and still talk about these horrendous, awful, terrible things that happened, even though like historically they didn't. And
Yeah.
there's still a lot of like people I've seen. There's a couple paranormal shows that actually visited like the sanitarium, and it just they're all like made up stories that they have on them. So
Oh,
yeah, I just find a lot of that stuff so hokey.
I always wonder how many of those urban legends are true and how many they just made up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I mean, they're kind of fun because it's all just storytelling and it's like urban legend storytelling,
Yeah.
so it's fun. But I think if you dive into that sort of world, like assess the real history too,
Yeah.
like, or at least kind of understand where some of the scary stories come from. But yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So, are you a believer in ghosts, though?
I don't know. I think some of, I feel like some of that is more like, like demonic stuff. And
Oh,
it's all
yeah.
just, yeah, like just like ways of like fooling humans into like going into exploring the darker aspects of like
Yeah.
what's in our spiritual realm. I don't know. It's hard to say and it feels so weird to talk about it, but I do
We
love a
can't
good
get
ghost story.
paranormal on this show
Oh
from time
yeah,
to
it's
time.
it's a fun way to at least explore darker elements in our.
Right.
So I don't
I
think there's any wrong answers.
right. I always feel like maybe it's not so much ghosts, it's just that uh, buildings and history tend to cling to places. And
Hmm.
uh, I think of it as an energy transfer because, uh, physics says that energy doesn't, it can't be destroyed. It only
Hmm.
can be transferred. So that's how I feel about it. It's just there. You can't get rid of it. And so much builds it's all in
Yeah.
the walls and in the floorboards. And that's how I
Yeah.
feel about
And
haunted buildings.
having you said that, like there is a story in the collection about like an old asylum that gets converted into a hotel. And that did
Mm,
happen. I can't remember the name of the actual hospital, but so it got converted into a hotel, and a lot of people kind of in the area threw a bit of an uproar over it just because it's like people were like tortured and locked in a lot of these rooms, and now
yeah,
it's like an upscale hotel room for people
that's
to stay
crazy.
in. Yeah, and so I said a story in one of these buildings where a woman visits this hotel and meets someone from the past.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds good. That's exciting because I'm working on one that's in a theater because
Hmm.
like I do theater. So if you've ever been in an empty theater or relatively empty when it's dark and just the ghost
Hmm.
light is on, it still feels very much alive to me.
Yeah.
So
And a
I'm
lot of
ready.
those old ones are just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes,
Like,
they are. I'm so fascinated by theater architecture. So tell me about Quill and Crow. How do you like working with them, and how's the publishing process with them?
it's been great. So the first story I published with them was called Women in the White Cottage, which is in the collection. It does have to do with, mental health and female hysteria and stuff like that. But there's a lot of modern feminism woven in there. Like I have a Cardi B WAP line, like whipped in there just for fun.
Nice.
Um, but like, so that was the first piece that I published with them, and it's just been great. Like just the feedback I got on it, and the random people that have said that they liked it, and just good reviews. And ever since then, Cassandra and other people at the press have been asking me for more stories, either for the magazine or for other anthologies. So it's
Yeah.
just been really fun. And prior to working with Quill and Crow, I never really wrote anything that was set in the past.
Yeah.
So it was a new place for me to explore and just a new way to write, like a little bit more verbose, because I
Yeah.
usually write very minimalist. So it's been a really thrilling experience for me. prior to working with them, I had just like written a novel and spent years on it. So it was just really nice to get back to short fiction and just write for a press that really liked what I was doing. So I just kept writing for them. Yeah.
So do you feel like you've grown a lot in your writing since you've had the opportunity to write from a past point of view and the more purple prose, as people call it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's been a fun aspect to explore. And it's just been really good working with everybody at the press, everybody who's edited my work, and even just doing the graphic design and stuff for the cover. It's been such a great process, and I've learned a lot from everyone.
Let me put that cover up while we're talking about it. Here's the cover for Ending in Ashes, and I love it. It gives me Drew or Nancy Drew vibes.
Yeah,
more scary, more horror story, detective novel, but I love it. It's just like takes me back to my childhood when I was just eating up Nancy Drew novels, and they all had this kind of it's just like this nostalgic cover, and I just love that.
Yeah, like back then, because they used to have people illustrate covers more often. Like I love the old VC Andrews ones just because they have the illustrations and the step back. And then there's like a huge thing of people who collect like the retro paperbacks from like the 70s.
Yeah.
I started collecting a few. I have them in my book collection downstairs, but I just loved the picture, the woman running from houses trope. So I really wanted to go for that with this cover. This is actually, so it's like a honeymoon resort in the Poconos from the 1960s, 70s kind of era. So the cover is actually a story from like in the book. And the girl's a character, the guy in the background is a character, and just the abandoned resort itself is one. So it was amazing putting this cover together.
It's really great. Like I said, and I could definitely see some VC Andrews inspiration in there as well. Yeah. Very nostalgic, very beautiful, and she is terrifying.
It's so funny because people just make fun of it. I only read like a few of her series before I was like, they're all the same, right?
Yeah.
But just because she only wrote the first like handful of her books before she died, and then a ghostwriter took over. But I don't know, there was just something about Flowers in the Attic and then like the Heaven series. She figured out, like, wouldn't say she was like a great writer because she did kind of overwrite stuff, but she just had this weird knack of figuring out how to write about those like horrible dark things that especially teenagers are dealing with, and just like putting them out in a book in this way that is so consuming.
It is horrifying, but when you, like you said, when you're a teenager and those family dynamics are happening around you, it's nice to have a book that's like, you're not alone if you are struggling with your family dynamics or this is happening in your life. It's nice to have those books. And I think, like you said, she did a really good job of capturing that, even if they were more horrible.
And like the salaciousness
a lot of us were dealing with. Yeah,
but it was almost like the guilty pleasure of it too, because people were reading them, and like, I mean, for a lot of teenagers, at least of a certain era, those were like the first sex scenes that you're reading in books, and they just felt so forbidden and wrong. But like, they understood, like you felt understood weirdly. Like there's just something. So she just had that knack, and there's something I just love about her in that way. Like, you know, she managed to put it on a page, and people loved it. So
yeah, I agree. So did you have a lot of like say in the cover, in the aesthetics of it all?
Yeah, so we worked with a guy, October Comics, and so between me and him and Cassandra kind of like worked on what I wanted, and then he would put it together, and then we kind of like, you know, figured out edits here and there that we could do. There were parts that I wanted to make a little more salacious, but Cassandra's like, no, we can't sell it that way. So it's just a whole interesting process on like what really goes into a cover of a book and how to market it. And especially in this day and age too, like trying to sell books on the internet. I learned so much, and it was just a lot of fun to work together with like 3 people on this cover. It was fantastic.
Here is the synopsis for everybody who's getting excited about Ending in Ashes. So you can read that. I'll leave that up there for a few minutes so you can skim that, check it out. It sounds so good. And I love a short story collection because you can just kind of stop where you are after a story's done. You can take a break, you can put it down and then pick it back up again. So I like that. Somebody who is constantly dealing with words on a daily basis and don't have a lot of time to pleasure read, it's not, the short story aspect is nice. So I like that.
Yeah, since becoming a mom, like novellas specifically, but now I'm really starting to get into short story collections as well. Like it's just a little chunk I can read one when I'm at the park with the kids, or
Right.
just
Yeah.
the time I get to have a bath, I can just sit and read a story and like just read this whole little thing and just feel that energy for a while. Yeah.
I agree. And it's like a novel, but compact.
Even smaller. Yeah.
Just ready for busy lifestyles.
Exactly.
So, are you a fan of like the horror in general, like horror movies, horror stories, not just writing them, but reading them yourself?
I am. I honestly, for the longest time, I didn't think I was, because when I was like in my early 20s, that was when like the Saw movies were out and all that, and
Yeah,
like
I remember.
I don't like torture porn, and I don't like supernatural porn because not porn, but the supernatural horror, because it just freaks me out. It just scares me, and some of that
It
stuff
is,
just
yeah.
really sticks with me. I love psychological horror though, and I really love horror comedy. It's probably my
You're
favorite
speaking my
like horror
language right
genre.
now.
Yeah, and I love horror video games. I don't play them because I don't have the time to, but I
Yeah.
like watching, streamers play them. Um, it's just like I'm too scared, so it's like it feels like I'm in a room with someone, like watching them play the game. It just feels like I'm there, and you get to like laugh, like the
Yeah.
tension's broken a little bit because you get to watch them like get freaked out and stuff. But there's some really great horror games, like even just short ones that
Yeah.
there's so much to them and just the dynamic of it, and like I love watching people play horror games.
I like to watch other people play them. I got Paranormal Activity on my Oculus, and then I got too scared, like right in the beginning of the game. I was like, "Yeah, nope, I'm
Oh
not.
yeah.
I'm not walking through this house."
That would be too much.
But I liked watching my friends play and then scaring them while they were playing
Oh
because
god, yeah. Oh.
so I still got a lot of entertainment out of it, but I was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah, it's like I love being scared, but I just want that like the balance. But I
Mhm.
love stuff with the creepy factor. Like I grew up like Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, and
Oh, yeah.
um the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books.
Yeah.
I loved those. Those were
Did you
good.
like
Like
the movie?
I hadn't seen it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have to see
I
it.
never get to watch movies anymore because with the kids and stuff, and then when they're asleep, I don't wanna watch a movie, like, I'm writing, so I have such
Yeah.
little time, right? But yeah.
They did such a good job, though. You have to see it. If you like the books, yeah, they
Oh,
really
that's
nailed
yeah.
it.
Because I always wondered how you do, like, an anthology kinda thing as a movie, but I'll have to see.
I've seen some that were done really poorly, and then some that are done really well. Like, Scary Stories was done really well. Trick or Treat is a really good one that I enjoy. You almost don't even realize Trick or Treat is an anthology. So some
Mhm.
people do it really well. Some it's not so cohesive.
Just just depends on who's writing it, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
All right, I want to talk about your TikTok channel
Alright.
because I love it and I think that your closet must be insane.
It's not organized, I won't lie. I try my best. Like I've got the dresses are here, which is like right beside my bed, and then the rest of it's like in my actual closet. Um, like I most of it I don't wear. Like the outfits that I made at least this year is kind of like the same revolving like pieces just swapped out.
Yeah.
But it's sad once you get into fashion and clothes too much. Like you always need more. It's a very compulsive hobby to have. But um, the amount of thrift hauls I've come home and
I was
just
gonna
like,
ask, do you go thrifting because fashion gets expensive?
oh god, I know. I used to work at Winners, which is the Canadian TJ Maxx.
Nice.
So for the longest time I was buying clothes from there because it was just there and you'd buy it.
Mhm.
Um, but I've tried to be a little bit more like eco-conscious and the whole thing about fast fashion and everything.
Yeah.
So in the last like I don't know couple of years or so, I've been buying more vintage or thrifting, as opposed to just buying like brand new stuff.
Yeah.
So I do thrift, but not that often. Most of the stuff I get is either through Poshmark or various boutiques, like online vintage boutiques and stuff. There's a few that I shop at pretty religiously when they post good stuff because I like what they get in their little collections. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It looks like you never repeat an outfit, and it's always something different and interesting. And I love the way you put things together, like things that I don't think people would often put together, and you just make it look really cute and
oh, thank you.
Very, very fashionable.
Yeah, like because Instagram, there's vintage people on there, but Instagram is it's more of a seller's platform now. So it's just so many just people in yoga pants with the crossbody, like fanny pack thing and a water bottle.
No.
Just the like modern mom look. But on TikTok, I've met like a few different moms just randomly through some of the outfits that they put together. Like there's a really good like thrifting vintage fashion community on TikTok, and people are just putting together just some weird outfits, but I always end up getting really inspired by them. So yeah.
I've seen some weird stuff, but also like I just love it over there on TikTok because everybody's so unique and unafraid to be themselves, and
yeah,
it's such a great little community.
I know, like I didn't get into TikTok like I know a lot of millennials did around COVID. But since I've kind of like discovered, it's just people are just a little bit more authentic. There's a lot of people who go there without makeup and they're showing like the tacky, like cluttered parts of their houses and stuff. And it's like that. I just want to see real people, like, I don't need to see the mom that put on makeup so she could bake cookies with her kids and then just take pictures of the kids. Like, yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. That's what I like about it. It's real people doing the things they really love and trying to teach other people to do the same.
Yeah, just sharing themselves and the rawness of what it's like being human. Like you just see more of that on TikTok than you do on Instagram. Yeah,
I love that. So I have it's not really a game, kinda. We're gonna do a love it or hate it.
Okay.
Common horror tropes.
Okay.
So I'll tell you the trope, and then you tell me whether you love that trope or hate it, and then give me a little explanation why.
Okay.
All right. So common horror tropes. The first one is the abandoned building.
Yes, love it. Always love it. There's so much to dive into, like anything to do with a building. I mean, even if it's supposed to be a real place.
Yeah.
I don't just have fun with it, make it a story. They always put every horror movie is like based on real events, and it's just like a real event is a building existed. Like
I do like the ones like The Shining where the building is the character itself.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I love that kind of story. Okay. How about the dumb character or the idiot plot, as they call it? They don't do what they should do. It doesn't make any sense why they would do that.
I'll probably say hate it because it's more of a trope now. But I mean, you'll get the good horror comedy that uses that character really well. So like kind of like depends on the context.
That's a good point. The genre. Okay, what about the almost invincible monster?
I hate it. Because then it's just like a sequel thing, and I don't like movies that have too many sequels. Yeah. Like, just find something new. There's so many great new ideas out there, and then everything's just reinventing franchises over and over.
Just kill the stinking monster already.
Yeah, or do it like how Scream does it, because it's a different person every time, and like yeah.
I think they do that really well. It's cheesy and a lot of people hate the Scream. It's one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, same here. Because the comedy, it's just perfect, and the meta references and everything. Like I haven't seen the new one, but I saw like the reinvention of it. I love the one right before this new one. Yeah, I liked it. I thought that it was just, I remember there's a clip where they were showing like the different Stab movies and the ways that they tried to reinvent it. Yeah. And he had like, Ghostface had like chainsaw arms or something weird like that. I don't remember. But it's just so funny. Me and my sister were just dying in the theater because it was just like
so good.
The commentary just on the like movie franchises and stuff was just pretty good. Yeah.
Ancient Evil.
It's not really. It's so overdone.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah. Okay, This one kind of goes with that one, I guess. Cult of Doom. The cult.
I love cult stories, or I love anything to do with cults. Like, I think they're so good. Some of them can be done really
well, and
yeah,
it's awesome. But sometimes they're just not done well, and it's stupid. And
yeah, like honestly, one of my favorite movies is Hot Fuzz, which isn't really a horror, but I would say it is because it goes into like this cult thing, and like
right.
it's a horror, like it's a horror comedy about like a cult, like.
What's that one? Little Evil, I think it's called.
I haven't seen that
one. The guy from Parks and Rec like gets married, and her son is basically the spawn of Satan.
Oh, I think I've heard of that one. Yeah,
a cult in that one, and it's just super funny. I really like that one.
Yeah, I love anything to do with cults. I just find the whole it's just, they're fascinating when you dive into them. So I like it when they make it like horror elements to it.
What about failing technology? Or I added this one in with it, where they go on a girls' weekend or a boys' weekend and then bag up their phones so that they're not distracted.
It's a trope, but especially in this day and age, there isn't really any other way to like make a horror happen in that kind of scenario, right? Like, so it's kind of a gimmick, but it's sort of necessary. Like,
yeah,
yeah. Unless you're gonna set like every modern movie in like the 70s again or something.
Yeah,
like, where people answer the door when somebody knocks on it. Like. So it's like, it's stupid, but I mean, hey, it's just, it's more of a funny, like a humorous trope that they use now, but
yeah.
So in that context, I do like it.
I'm still like, why are you bagging up your phone? Stop it. Okay, urban legends.
I love urban legends. I always have. I guess a lot of them are so cheesy that you'll come up with like, I mean, technically, like, what is it? The Reddit community, creepypasta, whatever.
Yeah.
That's all urban legends too. So
yeah,
like, they're still alive and kicking, and I love them.
Science gone wrong.
I like it. I'm not really into like, I guess, sci-fi, which isn't really science gone wrong, but I love the Resident Evil series, which like that's what it is, right? So
I love it in really bad creature features. Like big ass spider, or there's another one, some military spiders, but yeah,
it's a fun trope, like especially when it's like, like body horror kind of stuff, which usually freaks me out, but over the last handful of years I've just learned to like appreciate it more. I don't know why.
I think having kids makes you a little less
probably maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. Your little petri dish has knocked that all out of you.
Yeah.
Useless grown-ups.
Like, again, it's sort of a necessary trope, especially for like kid horror.
Yeah.
You always have to make the grown-ups stupid, but like, it's a dumb trope. It annoys me, but in the context of like horror, it's sort of necessary.
I hate it when the kid's like obviously scared to death, and the parents like, that's not real.
Yeah, no. Especially in this day and age, parents are just the most paranoid people on earth. So,
yeah, listen to your kid. Look at him. The bump in the night trope, where nothing happens during the day and everything happens after dark.
I don't like it. It's like, it's time to reinvent it. It's like, it's almost at the point where scarier stuff happens during the day than it does at night. So,
like you said, that's when people knock on your door.
Yeah.
Forbidden knowledge.
It's just, to me, that's almost like the whole like secret trope, like the gossip girl, like, you can't tell anybody. But
Yeah.
then somebody gets told anyway, so I think that's a dumb trope. Yeah.
If you want to guarantee everybody's going to find out, tell them not to tell somebody.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I don't like it when there's like the whole secrets thing.
Yeah.
Whatever secrets and all that kind of crap. It's kind of like a tired trope, and it's just people being annoying. It just turns into a human thing that's just like
Yeah.
annoying.
Cursed artifacts.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of it really, because it's just like it's a pretty like formulaic sort of storytelling,
Yeah,
right? Like
it is. I liked it in Cabin in the Woods, though.
like it can be used well for
Yeah.
sure.
But they were kind of making fun of it in Cabin in the Woods, so
yeah, which is perfect.
They did it well. Okay, death to the impure or fornicators, drug users.
At one point, that probably would have bugged me. Like, I grew up Christian and I still am. But I kind of like that trope, just especially nowadays, the whole like idea of the way Christians are and like so persecutory to other people and stuff like that. So the more on and even just religious tropes as a whole, like I'm all for it because it's just like explore it more and just be cheesy with it or like really explore it, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of really goes into what Midnight Mass was one of my favorites, like recent horrors.
I haven't watched it. I want to, but
oh, it's so good. Like just the way that it dives into the way people act when they're religious. There's a lot of good commentary in it. Yeah,
that's interesting. I find religion interesting. I don't practice religion because of all of those things that you just said.
Yeah, like 100%. I totally get why people are like, "Whoa!" Like,
yeah, I respect people's religions, but I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's just like the way that people get really forceful about it. So like sometimes I find like those kind of stories, the religious stories where it's like really persecutory and stuff, get really triggering for me. Just seeing how many people have left my church just because of even just like the most mild judgment, like, oh, you wore a baseball cap in church, like, oh fuck, like, well, hell's gonna rain down, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just so silly, and sometimes it's just hard to like see the way I used to think, like put on screen, but I think it's worth exploring. Yeah.
And I mean, some people are like that. I got really judged when I did go to church as a teenager because I was gothic and punky. And they were like, you can't dress like that at church.
Yeah,
I dress like this everywhere.
I know, it's so stupid. I hate that. And I remember like at one point in my life hearing like, Jesus is super goth, he died for your sins. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, found footage.
Oh, I love found footage. It's good.
Do you?
Yeah, especially like a video game. It's like kind of a video game trope in a lot of cases too now. But it's used effectively. Like I like found footage.
I like it. Like you said, if it's done effectively. I've seen some bad ones that were not done properly, and you never see the monster or whatever's killing them, and I don't like that. But the VHS movies were good, done well, and that kind of where there's people in the movie, and then there's the tapes. It was like a story and a different story, kind of like an anthology. I like that.
Yeah, there's a nostalgia factor to it too, especially for anything that's kind of got the VHS filter and all that stuff on it. That's what I love about the video games in a lot of cases. It's just like it's freaky and like I
like to use that filter on TikTok when I'm making scary videos.
Yeah.
The final scare.
Like that, is that the trope or?
Yeah, like the killer's not really dead or
okay. I hate it, but again, Scream did it really good and I like that whole concept. So again, if it's used in a comedic context, it's great. But...
And they did it. That's why it was good, because they're like, they're never dead. Shoot them again, or make
like,
sure.
Like few things do it for serious now. So now it's just kind of used in like a funny context in a lot of ways. And then again, like as like video game bosses, there's always a final scare where they like remutate into something new.
Yeah.
Going into the Resident Evil now, but like, I guess in certain contexts or in certain like media platforms, it can be used effectively, but like in like the 80s movie context, it's super annoying.
Yeah. A favorite of Scooby-Doo, Splitting Up.
It's kind of a necessary like gimmick for horror, I think. It's stupid. Like as a watcher, you're always mad about it, but you're not really going to get the characterization that you need. Like this is just me as a writer, I guess, looking into it, because you're not really going to be able to like flesh out 8 people if they're always as a group, right?
That's true.
They have to be split up. So I guess I kind of see it as a necessary thing, but logically, like if you're in the woods and someone's coming to kill your like group of your youth group, let's say, you wouldn't split up, but you kind of have to if you want like people to like you.
Yeah.
And root for you.
The Creepy Kid.
I like it. It's stupid, but sometimes it's the red herring, right? Like,
yeah. I like it so much.
Yeah.
The Shining Twins, the orphan. Just
yeah, you need those. It's it's like you're gonna be triggered if you're watching a horror movie and you see
kids are creepy little monsters.
They are.
Like they naturally say creepy stuff. Just
and it doesn't take much.
They pop off out of nowhere and you're like, what? What is wrong with you?
I know you always have fears of what they're gonna become, but then they end up getting scary, just like in general. I don't like it when there's like a killer kid. I hate that.
Yeah. I don't know. That little kid in Pet Cemetery was kind of cute, even though he was killing people. The possessed doll.
I mean, it's a good trope. It's kind of like, it's almost more like an urban legend kind of trope, right?
Yeah.
I feel like in the context of like a horror movie, if you tried to make a killer doll now, it would be really hard to take it seriously. I haven't seen Megan yet. I should. Because that's a creepy doll movie, right?
Yeah.
I've heard people say they love it and people say they hated it. So I don't know. I gotta watch it and judge for myself.
I didn't hate it. I wasn't impressed though. I wanted it to be better. But when they did it with Chucky and they made him like an AI doll, I loved that.
Yeah.
He was like super derpy and broken. And it was like, he's just so cute. Wonderful, but also adorable.
Yeah. Like, I mean, nowadays it's a little bit different because like dolls are just different, and things that are super creepy, they're almost cute, the creepy cute concept. But when it's like, you know, like a 1960s like paper mache doll that somebody made to look human, they're always creepy.
Yeah, always.
Yes. I don't know how anybody ever thought that stuff was cute because it's horrifying.
Go to sleep with your baby doll.
Yeah, and like there's a place like a few hours of a drive from where I live called the Enchanted Forest, and it's like these huge paper mache like fairy tale creatures and stuff like that, but they're all terrifying because they're all so crudely done and like they look so bad. But you're wandering through there, and it's, you know, most people now go there just for like the irony of it and stuff like that.
The creep factor of it.
It's great. It's a fun place. And I've seen a few videos on TikTok with, you know, the whistle that's like all whack, but it's showing the different like paper mache like rabbits chewing through like it's supposed to be a blueberry pie or something, but it's horrifying.
That sounds terrible. All right, last one. The Clumsy Escape.
I probably would say I hate it.
I hate it so much.
But again, in horror comedy.
I mean, yeah, when they make fun of it, I love it. But a character could be a freaking Star Trek or Olympics track star, and then the killer's chasing them and they can't walk over air.
Yeah, like the stupid tripping one is really annoying. Like make him like run into something or like you know, put a kid's toy on their floor or something. Make them step on Lego in a
You're
cluttered
looking
house.
back anyways. Make them run into a ball.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because they always do it when it's like in a completely bare hallway or like a grass field. Like,
yeah, I hate that one. What's another one? I just thought of something. I forgot what it was, but yeah. That one's one of my most hated tropes. Oh, that's what it was. I hate it when they knock the killer down, like they fight back and they just knock him down and then they try to run again. I'm like, why
yeah,
don't you keep hitting him?
yeah.
Just
But
keep going.
I almost feel like if it were me, my like, you know, run instinct would kick in and I wouldn't be able to fight because I'd be like, I'm gonna die.
They would hit him with a beer bottle and he goes down and they're like, all right, I'm gonna try to escape badly and trip
Yeah.
over a blade of
Well,
grass.
especially if they're already holding like a crowbar or something. Like, dude, come on. Like, you've got the upper
Keep
hand.
hitting him.
Yeah. You've got a good weapon. Like, use it.
Yeah. Insane. All right. So this is your time to plug your socials, your book,
Yeah,
anything
for
you
sure.
want. I'm gonna put
Yeah.
this
So
little. Here's an excerpt from Ending in Ashes, why Rebecca tells you where you can find her and when the book comes out.
yeah, so it drops on August 13th. So it's still a little ways away, but there is a pre-order at Quill and Crow Publishing House. Is it just quillandcrow.com? I think it is.
It's probably on the crowshop.com.
Yeah. Yeah, on the website there's a link up there for the pre-order. My website is RebeccaJones-Howe.com, and then all my socials, I'm Rebecca Jones-Howe at Instagram and also TikTok at Rebecca Jones-Howe. On Twitter, it's just R Jones-Howe, because for whatever reason I can't put my whole name on it. They don't let you use more than 15 characters.
Twitter.
I know, but you know, you can write a whole, like, you can write Infinite Jest probably as a tweet on your thing now, because apparently that's
you
really
want to pay
important.
them, yeah.
Yeah. But I can't change my username.
As always, I will put all of her links in the description. If you want to know more about Quill and Crow Publishing House, you can find them at the quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com. You can find their merch on thecrowshop.com. And their socials are Quill and Crow Publishing on Twitter and Quill and Crow Publishing House on Instagram and TikTok. You can find me on Twitter at jax2_0, on Instagram at JSLarmore, and on TikTok at Jax the Tiny Raptor. And my website is jslarmore.com. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been so fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was a blast.
Yeah. So, and thank you everybody for joining. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. Thank you for joining us on Ravens and Writing Desks.
Thanks.